Welcome everyone to the Agility Learning Lab, how to create labels in our new Agility Label Designer. So today we're going to cover how to create labels in the new Agility Label Designer. The Label Designer is bundled up as part of 567.2. It is just a standard application in the standard product now. And what that is it's a .NET Neodynamic product, and we've embedded that into our Agility product. It can run as a standalone application. It also runs from within Design Studio, Form Studio, and you can also start it up from within the Document Manager. We do have out-of-the-box labels that we are providing with the same installation. So the nice labels that came out of the box as standard that you could use out of the box or use for examples or customize and tweak those labels, we have prepared and provided those to you with the update as part of 567.2. So with that, this class is about how do I do it and what do I need to do to get started. So let's just go on ahead and jump in here and get started. I am going to bring up my virtual here, and I'm going to show you the different ways that we can open up the Agility Label Designer. So it could be on your Start menu, as depending on the installation you have. You can also find it in your WiSys directory here. So in your program files, under WiSys, under bin, like all the other application executables, you will also find the WiSys Label Designer. So you can, of course, then pin it to your taskbar or your start bar, however you want to. You can see that down here, this is the new icon for the Agility Label Designer, and I do have it pinned on my taskbar down here. So right now that's one way that I can start it up, and I'm going to go on ahead and start it up from my taskbar here. And you will see that it comes up, it's going to ask me for my SQL Server name, and it's going to ask me for the database there. I also have the ability here to, if I'm in Agility Designer, and the same thing with Form Studio, it is embedded in those products also. So if I go on ahead and I open up Agility Design Studio, you will see that it is also on the menu bar for the Agility Design Studio. So if I look at my menu bar here, I have a button for the Agility Label Designer. And if I open up Form Studio, I have the same thing. If I go to my menu tab here, I have an Agility Label Designer. I also have the ability to start it up from Agility Explorer. In Agility Explorer here, all of the labels, of course, work in our document management. So if you come in here and you go to your options and you go to the Document Manager, in the documents here, if I have a standard Agility label already in here, I also have the ability to open it up right from here also. And it's going to open up that very specific label and take me into the Label Designer too. So those are the many different ways that you can actually open and get to the Label Designer. I'm going to go on ahead and close this for right now. And we are going to go back to opening the Label Designer. So I have it on my taskbar here, and I am going to open up the Label Designer. The first thing it's going to do is come up and prompt you for a login, and you are going to pick your server name. You could have multiple SQL servers out there. So if you do, you're going to choose that one. I only have one. And then from there, you're going to pick the Macola database that you want to design your label in. This does not mean that this has to run in this one. This means this is just where you're going to design that label. So for here with the Macola database, I'm going to pick my Macola Company 300. This could be on my test server. It could be on my test database. And when I move it into my Doc Manager, when the labels run and execute, they will read whatever it is that company/database that you're in. So with that, with that, I'm going to go open up and I'm going to start, how do I get started designing my label? And what I want to do is I am going to create a label that we already have. We're just going to walk through how I create it. If you look at this particular label, this is just our standard inventory label here. And this is my specs. Whatever my specs are is what I need to put together and I need to design. So this is what we had as one of our nice labels, and we're going to walk through and actually create this label. And we're going to do it from scratch. So here on my Home tab, I'm going to click New. And when I click New, it's going to go on ahead and pop open my label document, and I can set my label size. So anything that I might need for wherever I'm going to print this or send it, whatever the size label I'm going to use, the printer information here, whatever I need, I can set here as my label document. When I have that information, I click OK, and you'll notice it puts my box here for my label size of what it is that I'm going to be working and designing with. My next step, now when you first open this, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to come up here to the options. And in this design options, I think when I'm trying to remember, when you first open this, I don't think the show grid and snap to grid is turned on. And I do believe that this is set to 25. So when you open this, you're going to open up a blank screen, and I'll show you why you may want to turn those on and make changes to those when we get into that. But let's look at your options quick. And in your options here, of course, you have additional things that you can set up for how you want to print or export this information here. Now, for these labels, it does need to be a ZPL printer. And if you look on our requirements, it does talk to you about the printers that we do work with and that we have tested with and have customers running with. So let's get started. The first thing that I need to do is I need to go design my query that I want to pull data and have on my label. So I'm going to click over here on my data tab. And on my data tab, the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to click my SQL query. And in my SQL query, if you guys are used to working with the Design Studio, this is a very similar looking screen for the query designer here. I have my save, my copy, my close, cut and paste. If I would like to work with the expression builder, I can turn on the expression builder down here. If I want a table list, I can go on ahead and click on table list. And to get parameters here, I can click on my parameter list and it's going to open it up and allow me to create parameters, and it'll display any that I have right here. I can validate and check my SQL, and then I can execute it and make sure that I have a good SQL statement that's there. Now, I can manually build this, which we're going to walk through really quick. I could design this in the SQL Management Studio, and I could cut and paste it in our tool here. Basically, it's like Design Studio. Whatever you can do in your SQL statement, you can put that here, and you can pull that kind of data or manipulate that data for your label to get what you need. And I'll show you a few examples of that. So in here, I am creating just a standard item label. So I know that I need probably the item location. I want some fields from my item master. And I might have serial allotted. I'm going to do allotted items. So I'm going to go on ahead and make sure I include the serial lot master table. So this is the list of my tables down here. And of course, I can scroll through and find it. I can also click in here and type in. So I want my INV loc table. And the more I type, the further it's going to take me. Of course, we have the SQL table here, but we also have our WV as for the WiSys views. So I'm going to choose my WiSys view. And I also know I want my item master, so I need my ITM IDX, and I'll grab the WiSys view there. And you'll notice, of course, it's building my SQL statement up here. And I am also going to grab my serial lot master. So I want my IMLST. And what I need to do now here is, again, I could type in my SQL statement, build my joins, but just like in Design Studio, I can also do it visually. So here I'm going to click on my item location. I'm going to hold my mouse down. I'm going to drag it over, and I'm going to drop it on my item location in my item master, and it's going to make that link there. I am going to do the same thing here with my serial lot master. And I'm just clicking on the headers and dragging them around just for visual presentation, a little easier to see. As you can see, I can expand them. And here I'm going to link this item location, and I'm going to click on location, hold my mouse down, and drag it over and drop it on the location field. Now, item location to item master, the IMITM-IDX file, I should always have something in each table. I may not always have something in my location master, so it may be that I need to create that as a left join so that it pulls everything from my location and doesn't care if I have something in that location or in the serial lot master. And of course, just like in Design Studio, same thing. I can right click and I could choose select all rows from here or from here to make my left join or my right join. I can also choose properties here, and I can do it this way to where I choose this box instead too. And you'll notice it's changing my SQL statement up here to give me what I need to build that SQL statement. So a couple of different ways that you could do that. As I said, you can either type it. So I could come in here and I could turn this back into an inner join or whatever it is that I need to do. The other thing that I need for this particular label is I need to build in some parameters here so that I can say only print for this particular item, this particular location, and this particular serial lot number. So I need to build in some parameters. And let me make my screen here a little bit bigger. Okay, that's probably good enough here. So I'm going to click on my parameter list, and it's going to pop open my label parameters. And to create my parameters, I'm going to click New, and now I'm going to give it a parameter name. So the first one I need is item number. And just like anything else, my parameters need to match the same value as the data that I'm going to compare it to. Item number is a char field, so I'm going to go on ahead and that's going to be a string. The parameter value it will prompt me for if I want to preview it, or of course it's going to input that, and I'm going to click New here. And I need the location. So I'm going to create a location. Again, I need a string. I'm going to click New, and I want it to prompt me for a serial lot number. So I'm going to go on ahead and create a serial lot. Also, if I look at that, again, I need a string. So I have my 3 parameters that I want for this particular label. I'm going to go on ahead and save that. And you'll notice that I can see my parameters over here. Now, I can go on ahead and I don't want all my fields in this particular label. I probably want my item number. I want my location. I don't need probably anything else from here. I do want my descriptions, so I'm going to go on ahead and click on my item descriptions that I want to grab from my location file here. And let's see, what else do I need? From here, I want my serial lot number, and I probably want my expiration date. So you can see down here, of course, that in my expression builder, if you like to use the expression builder, it is down here and building that out. And also in here, then, I need to add in my criteria. And of course, there's a couple ways that I can do that. So here in my item number, my criteria, I can come in here and say that it's going to equal the, whoops, if I type the right thing in. I know all you guys are experts, so you'll be watching me closely. And if I type the wrong thing, you'll let me know. So here is my item number. So you'll notice that as I do that, it's building this here. And I can do the same thing up here where I can type it. And my location equals, and if I want here, I can go on ahead and I can click location. Now you see that when I'm typing up here and when I'm doing that, it loses its format. And if I want it to kind of reformat it, I just click format it, and it brings all of that back. And you can see it's building it down here. So it's a matter of how you want to do it. Many different ways for you to do that. I also need to do a comparison on my serial lot number. Now, you may just know that everything is serialized, everything is lotted, or it's neither. And I can do a straight comparison to just say, and where the serial lot number equals the serial lot number. You may have a mixed environment where some things don't have a serial or lot number, or you have serial lot and some blanks. So what you may need to do is you may need to build in some criteria that is a little bit, that has some logic to it. So what I'm going to do is in my where statement here, and I kind of have this already built so I don't have to type it all, so I get it right as we're going through this. I'm going to go on ahead and build in my and statement here because I want to look at it where the serial lot could be null, it could be blank, or it could actually equal the serial lot because sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. Now what I did here in this instance, just to let you guys know, you can cut and paste. I'm in my design studio. I have my query built and I built it all right here and I just cut and pasted it there, which you can also do and it works just fine. So if you like to do that, you can. So now I have my serial lot information in here in my comparison. If I want to see what it looks like and I'm done with all of this and I want to make sure I've got information here, I can go on ahead and I can save it and I can tell it to execute. And you'll see that it's going to pop up and it's going to prompt me for my parameters. Now, I think it's typing. So I happen to have a label here and I can scan it. So I'm going to go on ahead and scan my item number. And I don't have a location scan, so I'm going to type that in. And then I'm going to scan in a serial lot number. And I'm going to go on ahead and save that. And you can see I'm getting data there. And it's pulling up what it finds in that database. So now I'm going to go back. Here's my query editor. And you can see that basically I have built my label. And in theory, I'm ready to design. A couple of things that I'm going to tell you in this query editor for kind of a best practice for me. This is one of the things that I always do on items that are going to be barcoded. So in this instance, my item number. I know I'm going to want a barcode on my item number. And sometimes those database fields have extra characters and you never know what's going to be in there. So the first thing that I do, just kind of as a habit, is to avoid any issues or blowing up the barcode if I just trim out that particular item so that I know it's clean. So I'm just going to do a right trim, a left trim, and come over here and give it an alias name as item number. So now I know that that's just going to be that item and it won't make the barcode be a little wonky. It's always good, of course, to test scanning your barcode. And I have found that sometimes in particular databases, depending on what it is, that sometimes that can be an issue. So that just fixes that. Another thing that I have found in here is that, like, we have the expiration date on this particular label. And I can go on ahead and you'll notice if I come back here and I tell it to execute, and I remember my same parameters here, but if I look at my date here, well, actually it looks pretty good here. So let's come back over here. One of the other things that I do is oftentimes I go on ahead and I convert that out to take care of, like, get rid of the numbers or any timestamps or anything that's on there. So a really easy one there is just to go on ahead and type in a convert statement. I'm just going to pull this over here because I have it all ready to go over here. So I have the exact same field. And if you're not sure, you know, when you're converting this and you don't know what format it is, if it's got numbers, extra timestamp on there, go on ahead and just Google that and it'll tell you what you need or that particular information here. So now I'm going to go on ahead and tell it to execute, and let's just save that. And I know in my database, I'm not sure why it's not showing, but anyhow, it does have digits on it, timestamp digits. So that's just kind of something I do when I'm building these as a practice, just to make sure it looks very clean and I get exactly what I'm looking for. So now that I have those fields out there, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to save this and I'm going to close it. And I'm ready to get started with my design. So with this, let's go on ahead and we are going to take a look here, and you'll notice, again, this is kind of what we're building. So we need a logo. We want an image on here. We've got some text boxes. We've got a barcode, some item descriptions, and some additional ones here. So with that, I'm going to come back to my home, and you will notice up here, of course, we have the ability to do a preview of our label, to print it, to create an image here. We can do a rectangle on our box, ellipsis line. We can do our text, pictures, barcodes, and of course we can bring them forward, bring them back. You have a lot of functionality here. With the options here, if I start kind of freeform dropping this, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my logo. I'm going to choose picture, and I'm going to come down here, and I just clicked on the picture, and now I've got my mouse down, I'm holding it down, and I'm dragging it on the label. So I've got this on my label here, and you'll notice that the minute that I drop this on here, this properties window here over on the right side has opened up and populated with the values that I can assign to this particular item. So over here on the item here, of course, you've got many different, I can give comments, I can point it to a data field and string. I can hide if it's blank. Do I want it to be grayscale? If it's a picture one, do I want to lock this aspect ratio? So a lot of times that might be one you might want to change so it kind of doesn't get all wonky if you start moving it around. So I might want to change that to fit. I may want it to be locked. You have control of that. If I keep coming down here, you're going to see this is a source file. And down here in the source file, I'm going to click in that property, and I'm going to go on ahead and click Browse. And I can browse out to my network out here, and I'm going to go to my WiSys folder. And in the root directory of your WiSys folder on the server, it may not be on a client machine. So depending on where you're installing that, you may need to get a hold of that logo depending on where you're doing it. I'm not sure if it installs in, the logo at the client. It might. So when I go to this logo, here, we have always had this nice label logo that was out here as a default. With our release, we've added out this company label logo, and when I go on ahead and I select that, you're going to see it's the WiSys logo. If you want to replace that with your logo, all you need to do is take whatever that image is, put it in that directory, and name it that same thing, and the labels that have a logo on it will automatically be replaced with your logo. So you don't have to come in and edit it to get your logo on there. You may want to and point it there, but you don't have to. Just give it that same name and it's going to put that on there automatically. All right, so that's the logo. And the next thing that I want to do is, if I'm going to take a look at this, is I want to add in a text field and my data value and a barcode here. So I'm going to add a text field here. And I'm going to drag this text field on, and this is going to be my label. So really quick here, again, I have many different properties here that I can fit on a text field. If this is going to be a label for a field, I don't need a data field, and you can kind of look through, borders, any information that you want here. I don't need a format string. Down here, I want to give this field a name. And giving this field a name, when I look through my properties and I want to look at the different things that I have on here, this name tells me what this is. So for me, this is a label. So I always give these, I say label, and this is the label for the item number. Okay? And then I want to come down here and I want to give it text that it's going to display in that particular box. So I'm going to type in item number. And you'll notice it changed that particular text, and you'll notice the name of it is up here in the properties. And if I do a drop down, I have my image, I forgot to give that a name. And here is my label item here. I can choose my alignments, size. You have various different things that you can play with. So if I come back here and now that I'm done with that and I want to give my image a name, you'll notice in here that I can put in company logo. And now this will change the name here so I can see what it is when I get the list of all the things that are on there. On a simple one, not a big deal, but when you get some complex labels, it makes it a lot easier. All right. The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to add another text box here. And this time I'm going to come in here, excuse me, and I want to add my item number. So in my item number here, I've dropped on another text box here, and I'm over here in my properties. And now I want to attach a data field. So if I click on data field here, and these are the things that I put in my SQL data query. So whatever I have over there in my data query is what I'm going to see here. And so I'm going to choose item number. And I'm going to come down here and I can see here's my font, which I can see over here. My default is Arial 10. If I expand that and I want to make any changes, maybe I want it bold, maybe I want, whatever it is, here's the font name, here's the font size. If I want to make it bigger, I can click on it and make it bigger. If I want to change the font, whatever that is, I have under here, and I can make those changes. I'm going to leave it at our default of 10. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to give this a name. And this is actually the item number. I'm going to call it item number. Down here, the text is item number, and that's what you're seeing in here. And I can tell that this is a data field right here. So some of the other things, so font, name, text, those are things that I might want to change on a data field or a data label there. Now you'll notice that as I'm adding these, that's pretty ugly, right? If I went and popped this up now, they're not lined up, they're all over the board. And so the things that I can do to help me line that up and get those organized is I'm going to click on my options, and I'm going to go on ahead and turn on show my grid. And I'm going to do my snap to grid. I'm going to click OK. Now, also, as I have a bigger label or I need to get this a little more organized, I might want to zoom this label up, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here. And right now, with these few fields, this is really easy. I can come in here, kind of snap these in, organize them around, and move them a little bit to get them organized and snap them to the grid to make that easier. Now, to me, this is kind of cumbersome a little bit because they're still too big. So what I can do is I'm going to come back here into my options, and I'm going to make my grid just a little bit smaller. I'm going to make it 0.05. So that makes it really easy for me to get some fine point design. So now you'll notice here, I've got it down to a little more refinement there so I can really get it right where I want it. So that's why you may want to change it, and it does remember however you had it last. So once you set it, when you open that up, it's going to remember how you had it last and do that for you from that point on. And of course, this, as you can see, I'm clicking on this. I can move it around. I'm just holding my mouse down. Of course, I can resize it, whatever it is that I need to do to that particular item for my label there. That's probably maybe a little bit too small, but we'll leave it right there for that. So I've got it so it's easy for me to design. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a barcode. And so I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to stick in my barcode here. And this is going to be my barcode for my item number. And I definitely want to keep a little space here. I might scoop this up so it's a little bit closer. And on my barcode here, I can, if I come over here, let's go to the top. Here's my properties for a barcode item. And you can see that there are many things for the different barcode types that I want to change. I have my height, my colors, the different kinds of code settings that I might need to change. Attaching to my data field here, just scrolling through, you can see I have many different properties that I can change for the different types of labels, barcode that I want to make. Now I'll show you in just a little bit here how to know exactly which ones to change for your specific barcode here. By default, we have this set so that the symbology here is code 128. Of course, you can change that for whatever it is that you're trying to make. You can see all the different types of barcodes that are available here. I think they come up in 1D, 2D order, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe not, because I think that is a little out of order. But basically, you can scroll through here and find whatever it is that you're trying to create for a barcode. I'm going to leave this at a 128 label. And I'm going to pop back up here. And we're going to start here at like barcode alignment. It is defaulted to the middle left. So it is going to be in the middle of the space on the left side. But of course, you can change it to however you need to format that. The next thing you want to do is I want to attach a data field. Of course, there are a lot of different things you can change. I'm going to scroll down here and let's go to my data field. And this is going to be, again, my item number. It's in my SQL query. It's available. I'm going to grab item number. The next thing I want to do is to, if I look at my display code, you'll see, I'm going to hit my tab here and you'll notice it put item number up top here because it filled that in down below. I'm going to go back here to display code. And this will be in our help documents to kind of tell you these things. So what field do you kind of standard want to change? The display code is set to false. Maybe you want it to be true. And when I set it to true, whatever the code is for the barcode, you can see it underneath. Now, maybe I don't have that up here. And if I don't, I may want to display that code down here. All up to you as the designer. I want mine off, so I'm going to go on ahead and change this back to false. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I have a box down here, and for an item number, this really doesn't apply, but it might for like a serial lot number when we get to that. There is a hide if empty, and it is defaulted to true, but you can make it true or false. On an item number, you should always have an item number, so you should never have to hide it if it's empty. You might on a PO field, you might on a serial lot number, depending on what that was, you have that flexibility. Of course, we already talked about the symbology down here to set that symbology. And the other thing you might want to do is you'll notice that as soon as I attached the item data, it filled in the text with the item number, which puts it right here to tell it what it is. That may be beneficial. You may want to leave it. I'm going to go on ahead and erase it. And you'll notice I got the full barcode here. So now I have my item number back here. And the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to add in a description. So I'm just going to kind of walk through this really quick here. And I'm going to put description. And again, this is a label. So I'm going to come down here to my name. And this is a label, description, and then down here in the text. And you'll notice it populates in there. And then I'm going to add in the item number. And you might want both item numbers. We're just going to drop the one in here. So same thing. You drop the text number in here. And I'm going to attach a data field. And I want description 1. And I'm going to come down here to my name. And this is actually description 1. And I can leave this text here. This is a data field. It's going to show me there. The next thing that I have is I want my serial lot number on here. I'm going to go on ahead and just put a text here, and I'm going to show you how to make that variable because you'll do it in a SQL statement. So this is my text for the lot number. And here I'm going to give it a name of, this is a label for, call it serial lot. And because we're going to change that to a data value, but I'm going to call it a label for serial lot. And in the text here, I'm just going to call it lot for the moment. So there's lot, and then I'm going to go on ahead and attach a lot number field so it displays it. And we are going to grab our data field. And we are going to give it a name and get rid of the text. Actually, we'll leave that there on that one, and that's our serial lot number. Now we're going to grab the barcode, put it on there. And here, again, we want a code 128 label. We are going to come up here. Middle left is fine. That's the default. We're going to grab our data field, and we want the serial lot number. And then we are going to come down here to the name. And this guy is going to be our barcode. We know what it is when we're looking at it. And down here for the text, we'll go on ahead and take that out. Now I can do the same thing here where I put my expiration date down below here. And I am going to grab my data field for the expiration date, and I would put a logo on it. We'll make it pretty here, but we want to get through this. So there's my data field, and this is my label. Or this is actually my field. Okay, so I have everything that I want on this particular label here. If I want to take a look at it and I want to see what it looks like, I simply can click my preview. It's going to ask me if I want to save it. And this is my, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to stick it in Docs. And we'll just call it a test standard label. And of course, we already did the parameters here. So I've got them saved in here. And I'm going to run this up to screen. Data field is empty. Okay, I missed somebody. I lost my screen.
We'll check your logo, Kathy.
Well, but that can't be empty. Okay, we ran it. No image source. well, it's worked on all the others, but let's try. Nope. This is how you troubleshoot it. Actually, there's a better way. What in the world?
Kathy, the box at the bottom of your label, it's gray in color.
Oh, good Lord. Didn't even see myself do that. Thanks. Let's see. Let's see if I can put it back here. How much? Oh, darn it. Okay. Anyhow, let me throw these back on here really quick and get rid of that gray box down here. All right, this is my item number. It just won't be quite as pretty. It wasn't pretty anyway. This is going to be my description. And then I have my lot number. And I'll quickly show on my expiration date. Okay, so now let me go into a quick preview here, and we will save it again. And not quite as pretty, but there is your item number, your barcodes, and your lot number, basically trying to recreate the standard one. And my logo would be right up top there. So that is the creation of the logos. And of course, like I said, turning on your grids and using your grids here to kind of snap these in place and line them all up makes it pretty easy to get them right where you want them and expand them so you can line them all up and make them pretty, or at least as the requirements design. Now, you can also, of course, you have lines here, so a lot of them will have lines that you can add maybe in between. You can also, if I delete this guy, you can also do rectangular, so if you need a complete outside box, it makes it really easy to get that formatting that you need. And with those little snap-on grids, that makes it really easy to get it lined up right, pretty even, right where you want it to be in between there. And so you can add all that in and, of course, save that. So I'm going to save this not so pretty label here. And I'm going to do a save. And let me do a quick save as. We put it in doc. And in doc here, did I save it there? I'm going to save it here just for fun, really quick. We're going to call it training STD label. And we'll save it. And I have it now down out there where I want that particular label. And I'm going to come over here to Agility Explorer. and I've started up Agility Explorer, and I'm going to come in here into my doc management. I'm going to go to my options here into documents, and in the inventory here in my standard labels, I have the one that we imported here, but I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to go to my properties, and I'm just going to disable this. To add in a document that you've created, it works exactly the same as it does for what it did for Nice Label and what it does for Crystal. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do new, I'm going to browse to wherever that is. I dropped it in my document folder. You'll notice here right now it's showing me just Crystal reports, but if you hit the drop down here, I can change this to the Agility label here. And now I can come in here and here's my label. So I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to grab this particular label. And I have now imported this. It's asking me the same questions that I do for any document. And I go on ahead and click Save. And you'll notice that it's here. And I have all the same ability for doing public and private, setting up labels for specific, if they need to be like for different customers or different orders, pallet labels, carton labels, whatever those need to be. I can't have the same features and abilities to do that with this ability here. So that's how I pull them in. It works exactly the same. If I make changes to it, when I save that in there, it puts it in the SQL database. So if I make any changes to that label in the label designer, I need to make sure I come in the document manager and refresh that to get those into the database there. All right, so onward quickly. Here, I'm in the Agility label designer here. And I'm sure one of the questions is, can I convert my Nice label to the Agility label designer? And technically the answer is we don't have a conversion utility, but you can kind of cheat. And I'm going to open up Nice label here. And I'm going to come into, in this particular one, I'm going to go into my data. And I'm going to go into my database access. And I'm going to go grab the SQL data out of here. And I'm going to paste it into a new label in here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to my SQL. And I can grab this SQL. All of our standard ones go against views. So this is the exact same label in Nice label. And I'm going to bail out of here. And if I were going to come in here and do a new label, at my design, come over here to data, go to my SQL query. And when I paste this in here, of course, it brings in the standard label view, because with Nice label, SQL wasn't always so friendly. I couldn't go in there. It wasn't reliable to do all the things that I can do in SQL. So a lot of ours are built on top of views. Now, I have all of this SQL code here. Where I have an issue is that my parameters aren't built the same. So what you can do is cut and paste the SQL in here, and then you can come in here and go into your parameter list, and you can build out, for instance, your new parameters, item number, location, whatever it is that you need there. And when you're done, okay, so there's my parameters. And basically what I've done here is I want to take out this item number, and I need to build in my new parameter. So that's cheating it a little bit so you can get what you need out of Nice label, and I can come in here and I can get my new parameters that I need for that location. But other than that, you should be able to cut and paste that in from Nice label to here. So I wanted to show you that really quick. It's a bit of a shortcut to help you there, and that will make it a little bit faster. The next thing that I wanted to show you here is I'm going to go back to home here. And if I open back up my label that I just did, and I'm going to open that up. I don't want to save my changes, and I'm going to grab this label here. I want to show you here in the existing label, if you open up our standard out-of-the-box label, and you go into the SQL query, I'm just going to pull up the one here because you have the ability here. This is our out-of-the-box one if you take a look at it. You can build in your SQL query case statements to maybe make a conditional label. Maybe I want to show or hide an expiration date. So you have all of that power very easy in that query designer, where that was always very difficult in nice labels. So again, it's like Design Studio, it's very flexible. I'm going to close that. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is I'm going to talk about these special barcodes and how to know what you need to do. So back here on the home screen here, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to open up our out-of-the-box UCC 128 label. So with our UCC 128 label, and this is one of the, oops, this isn't the one I want to open. I'm going to open up this one. Okay. So with this UCC 128 label, we have a barcode on here that is an SSCC 18 barcode that's needed down here. So what do I need to do, or how do I know what it is that I need to change for parameters to get this type of a label? If you come out to our website, out here onto our online documentation, first off, it does talk about the label designer and what the requirements are and some tested printers. But under the Agility Label Designer, there is this creating barcode fonts. And in this creating barcode fonts here, if you scroll down, you have all the different, here's your 1D, and you can scroll down, and down here further, these are all the types that you can create, and you've got your 2Ds. And here is an SSCC 18. So when I come into my barcode fonts, if I click on this particular link, it's going to take me to the page that's going to tell me what it is I need to change to create this particular barcode type. It's telling me how I need to set the symbology. So if I come back here and I scroll down to my symbology, you will see that I have the SSCC 18 set. Now, another nice feature is you'll notice I have this search field up here too. So when I know that I am on this web page, and now I need to find the add checksum. Well, they are sort of in alphabetical order. So add checksum is right here, and I want to change that to true. But then I want to go find the, maybe I want to find the bar width. So in here, I have the search box here, and I can type in bar width, and it's going to filter that out and make it easy for me to find. So I can also do a search here to find that, clear it, or I can scroll down and I can find it alphabetically. But this particular area is telling you what you need to know and which fields you need to change. Now, some of it is still optional. So do I want the bearer bars? Do you need those? And your, of course, requirements are going to tell you that. So if you need those or you don't need them, the out-of-the-box one doesn't have those, what kind of quiet zone or top margin, that's up to you based on the requirements that you're getting for your particular customer of how that label needs to be created. But this is how you know how to find those. So all of those are out here, everything that it can create, and it will tell you the exact fields and how to make those changes to get those particular barcodes. Now, with this particular barcode, this happens to be, and of course, if you look at this, you will see that this is telling you that this is 17 digits. And of course, it has 00 plus the 17 digits. The field that we are using on this particular field, if I go to my data and I look at my SQL query here, you can see again that I'm using my EAN 18 field. And with PICPAC, that's a combination of the manufacturer's ID, which is set up on the options page if you want to use it, or you could hard code it in here and just pull those fields together. But that is actually 18 fields because it puts that check digit in here. One of the things with this is expecting it to be 17 characters, and it's going to build a check digit. So we have to get rid of our check digit. So you can see what I did here is I just did a left trim to pull out those 17 characters and to put the 00 in front of it. And of course, our add checksum is true is on, because if I let it be that 18, it comes up with blank because it's not being formatted the way they are telling me to format it. So it's not 17 digits because it wants to build that check digit. So I have to go get rid of it out of our data. And of course, then I give it an alias name, and that's the field I'm using to get that barcode. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that sometimes you definitely have the power to very easily build that out with the SQL statement that's there. So that covers the barcode setup that's there. And the one thing I didn't show you is back here in Agility Explorer, really quick here, back in the documents here, of course, we have our import documents. We always distribute the crystal, we have the nice label, and we have the Agility ones that are distributed. Those bundled files are under the doc directory. And so you'll notice that that bundle has the _AL for Agility label. So if I choose my distribution documents, I'm going to get a PO receiving, and I'm going to get a standard item label. Also, so here's my package one. So here I have my carton labels and my UCC 128. And you may not want to use these, but you may want to go on ahead and import them so it expands them into the doc directory, and you can take a look at them for samples. And maybe those are a starting of a customization if you want to build your own. So that is a quick overview, of course, how to get started with the labels. And you can see here on this one, this is a hide for the PO. We've got all the boxes and everything drawn around using all the features and the functionality. Now, with this label, when I was having those issues, I probably should have went to my debug, because we've added a debug here. And I can turn this on. And when I go on ahead and I'm going to run this particular label here, and I've got my package number, my shipment number, and I'm going to run this up to my screen. And so here's my label here. But let's say if I had an error or anything there, I can come here to view my debug output. And this is logging this, and this is to our log file. And here we have our debug process ID for this label running, and it's showing us all of the information from running that label. Now this ran, and it told me that the print job is complete, but if I'm getting an error, it would tell me. I can look through this information and kind of find the error and help us troubleshoot. So it's kind of hard to see until you're kind of getting into it, but if you're doing these, this debug option is here, and if you need some help, of course, we're here to help, and support's here. I don't know, Bryce, anything else you want to add about the debug here? It's very helpful.
Yeah,
writing.
Yeah, one of the nice features is on the native printer commands. If you think your printer is having some issues not generating a label, the native printer commands will show you the actual ZPL that is generated. And so there are several online ZPL viewers that you can go to. If you just type in online ZPL viewer, in your browser, you'll find some pages out there that are available. And you can actually copy and paste this ZPL code into the website and actually generate an image, and you'll be able to see if there's any differences for example, if the ZPL that is generated is correct, if it's a printer issue, and so on. So it's just a nice to have that you actually get the ZPL generated for you, that you can and some of the printers actually, you can send the raw ZPL right to it through some of their command line utilities or UI debugging utilities as well.
Thanks, Bryce. It's very helpful when you actually run into an issue and you can't quite get things working. Okay, so that is basically our Agility Label Designer. If you look to the WiSys online documentation, there is the creating barcode fonts. That is out there already. The label design how-to to kind of get you started and the things to take a look at is going to be out there with the release of 567.2. We've kind of already talked about how do you get the new label designer. It is embedded in 567.2. So when you do that update, it will be there. There is no additional charge for this label designer. What does that mean for your existing nice label labels? We will continue to support the nice label labels. We do, if you have the runtimes there that are already there, we will support them until something happens that we can't support. So if there's some kind of operating system update, and it will no longer work with that. Nice Label does not support version 5, and version 6 ends at the end of this year. We do not work with 2017, and the biggest reason that we don't is that they moved the pricing to printer-based. So we were going to have to track all of your printers and pay on a per printer basis for all of you, and we decided that wasn't scalable and good for you guys. So that's why we have added this in here. Do you have to go out and convert everything? No, you don't. You can leave your Nice Labels running, and they will be just fine for all of this. As you need to develop new labels, you can design them in our label designer and add them in. If you want to go out and convert all of them, you can go out and convert all of them. You can get with your reseller if they created the labels for you. If we created the labels for you, check with our support, and we can work with you on getting those converted. If they're under maintenance, we'll help you convert them for free, unless you want to do it just for fun. Or if we created for them, but they're not under maintenance, we can work with you at a discounted price to help you get them created or to train you and to go through that with any help that you might need to get those up there. But you are not required to go move them, and they will continue to work as is. So right now, let's go on ahead and jump into our Q&A and see if we have what we have for questions.